Well, I'm in Paris. Thought I'd get up, have a coffee, and then come down to quite a popular area. There's loads of people, loads of chairs, loads of things going on. And where there are people, there are photos. Shooting in black and white, but I actually think colour. Despite the quite upbeat, jazzy music I had decided to lay under the beginning part of this video, I actually was struggling with inspiration. I've been to Paris many times and I've enjoyed shooting there almost every single time I've been, but for whatever reason this time I'd really kind of hyped up the trip in advance in my mind. I went there with these wild expectations of the photos I was going to get. So I think I really set myself up for failure by having such high expectations. I've wandered my way down to the Louvre. Not entirely by design, if I'm honest. I know I said before about where there's people, there's photos, but there are a hell of a lot of people down here. I think the big crowds are for people queuing to get in, which I'm not going to do. Maybe there are photos around the edges, people waiting, people hanging out. Over because I saw this person sitting by themselves, flanked by columns and the old street lights. I love having a solo figure in a wider scene like that, where you can really emphasize their isolation. So I was actually in Paris for work reasons, but I did have a few hours spare on a couple of occasions, so I really wanted to make the most of my time with my camera, because Paris is great for photography. It's one of the most consistently beautiful and visually interesting cities I think it's possible to visit. And that makes it absolute gold for this type of street and travel photography. And to be fair, day one started well enough. I like the scene because we've got the triangle of the Louvre. By exposing for those bright highlights, everything else is falling into shadow. When there are so many people walking through, it becomes a really messy scene. Ideally, there'd be one person or parent holding hands. This is probably my favourite photo of the whole trip. I love the minimalism here and the very stark geometric elements in the scene. By exposing only for the bright outside light, it meant that everything else falls to darkness. And of course, by waiting for just the right moment to push the shutter, we've got this nice silhouette of this family in the doorway. This tree looks like it's growing long beans. That can't be right. Can it? I've find myself down Notre Dame way, I suppose. Because again, where there are people, there are photo opportunities. At least, that's the hope. And this was probably my other favourite photo from the day. I saw this guy taking a moment to enjoy his puzzle on the bench, and I loved that relaxed vibe he seemed to give off, just sitting there enjoying his solo time while the whole world was rushing past him. So I wanted to emphasise that contrast by using a slow shutter speed, keeping him nice and sharp but allowing all the passers-by to just blur out. As a result, we just get the impression of this person walking in front with their bit of leg and the vague shape of the umbrella being visible. And I do love using motion blur in street photography, because it's a great way of either highlighting a static subject like this person with their puzzle book, or going the other way and panning with a slow shutter speed in order to emphasize motion of a passerby. I certainly got my best stuff on this first day, but even then I struggled more than I thought I would do, and looking back I think I know why. Generally, when I go out taking photos, I need to get a good shot in the bag quite early on. It gives me that initial rush, and that rush keeps me feeling excited and motivated to keep on taking photos throughout the day. So if I struggle to get those shots early on, then my creativity basically just ebbs away and I struggle to remain motivated. Of course, that is so much harder to fight against when I've built up those expectations and that excitement in advance about the photos that I assumed I was going to get. On occasions like this, my expectations are so high that I basically needed to capture a masterpiece for my first photo. And when inevitably I don't shoot a masterpiece for my first photo, I find that I end up feeling quite deflated, and that mood sticks with me not just throughout the rest of the day, but actually throughout the whole trip. And I really think that's what happened for me this time in Paris. I'd simply built it up too high and it was never going to meet my expectations. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like some of these shots, but none of them are my best work, and I definitely hoped for more on this trip. And there are plenty of factors that could help this beyond simply being a better photographer. The main thing is that I could have done some more research and preparation about the places I wanted to go and take my photos. Instead, I just did my usual thing of just wandering pretty aimlessly, taking any road I wanted, and then inevitably finding myself in basically the same places that I've already been, so I didn't even get the thrill of being somewhere new. I could have taken the metro to a different part of town altogether and seen what I can find. I definitely could have reached out to some local photographers and maybe arranged some kind of meetup or a photo walk. Trying to lean on that local knowledge would be a great way of finding some good new photo spots. I mean, really, I could have just done any amount of planning to have helped me get some better work. Instead, I basically just left my hotel room and hoped for the best. But as a result, what I've come back with is a series of perfectly fine, but also very generic and ultimately forgettable images. Does it also smack of towering arrogance that I think I can go to a new place, do zero preparation, and still come away with great work? Yeah, maybe. I think it does, and that's probably something that I should keep in check. I kept my camera with me basically everywhere I went, whether I was working or when I was on my own time. I headed up to the Montmartre area and I had a brief walk around the old buildings in the cathedral, but it was incredibly busy, so I didn't really get more than a handful of holiday snaps. I suppose I quite like this shot of this Buddhist monk shooting video on his phone, as well as the simplicity of this scene with this guy barely lit by a shaft of evening sunlight. I'll pop a few others on screen now from the rest of the trip, and again, it's not necessarily that there's anything wrong with them, it's just that they don't really stand out in any particular way for me. They feel just like nice records of my trip there as a tourist, but nothing with any kind of impact that might give them longevity. Am I being too hard on myself? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not trying to be self-deprecating here, and nor am I fishing for compliments hoping that you'll dive into the comments and tell me how amazing these photos actually are, because, let's be honest, we can all tell that they're not amazing. They're just fine. They're fine. But what they also are is boring. But I do also think it is important to be able to take an objective view of your own work like this. That's exactly what I'm doing, sitting back and trying to critique this and thinking, yeah, I could have done better. And then hopefully I can learn from those conclusions. And what I've learned here is that even just a little bit of planning, I think would have gone a long way into helping me get better photos. And then I wouldn't be moaning quite so much in this video. But then, I am from Yorkshire. Moaning is what I do.